Good morning. My name is Leon Tidwell with Historic Arkansas Museum, and today I'm going to tell you a story. Now, stories are very important. We read them today in books. We watch movies that hopefully have stories, and we watch all kinds of television shows and things like that. We hear stories on records, on CDs, on albums, and all that kind of thing. But stories are very important because, one, they're entertainment. Two, they can tell lessons. And three, anybody who wants to work at it can tell a story. So in the 1820s when Jesse Hindelighter was here, or the 1840s when Robert Brownlee was here, or the 1850s when the Pembertons and the Perry family were in the farmstead over here, they might have had a night where for entertainment, they had a little bit of music, they had a little bit of dancing, and they had a nice story that someone would tell. Now, the story that I'm going to tell is very important to me personally because I learned about the Jack Tales from one of my teachers. He was a math teacher, and in his deep voice in the 4th grade, he would say, "Now, kids, if you do your math homework on Fridays, I want to tell you a story." And every Friday, he would tell us a story, a Jack Tale. And these stories, just like any other kind of story, like Cinderella, like Snow White, there's all kinds of variations on those themes because different people would tell a different story. This would be supposed to be the same story, but just like spaghetti, you can have the same ingredients, give them to two different people, and they make two different types of spaghetti, and that's fine. So these stories are wonderful. Today I'm going to tell you the story of Jack and the robbers. Now, Jack was a precocious young boy, and he always ended up getting in trouble. So one day, he got in trouble, and his pop gave him a spanking, and Jack got a little bit upset. So you know what Jack did? Jack ran off. And Jack was walking down the street. He was just walking, and Jack heard this old hound dog going. So you got to make funny noises for these stories. That's just the thing. Jack walks up to this hound dog and he says, "What is wrong with you?" And the hound dog said, "I was in the barn and there was no raccoon in the barn and they wanted me to chase him off. And I got the raccoon and I started to shake on him, but since it didn't have no teeth, I couldn't keep a hold of him. So they said they was going to get rid of me. So I runned off." Jack looked down at this hound dog and he said, "Come on, let's run off together." So they walked down the street a little ways, walked down the street, and they hear this old cat. "What is wrong with you?" says Jack. And the cat says, "They had too many mouses in the house. I wasn't catching them. So I heard them talking. And they said they was going to get rid of me. So I runned off. Come on." So Jack, the dog, and the cat are out walking. And they come up on this old rooster. And this rooster is like, "What is wrong with you?" And the rooster says, "I couldn't protect the hens. And I heard them a talking. And they said they was going to get rid of me. So I runned off." "Well, come on." He runned off and runned off a little bit further. And then he ran into an old ox. "What is wrong with you?" "I couldn't pull the cart no more. I heard them a talking. And they said they was going to get rid of me. So I runned off." Come on. Go a little bit further down the street. And they runned into a mule. And this old mule, "What's wrong with you?" I think I'm too mean. I heard them talking. And they said they was going to get rid of me. So I run off. So you got a cat. You got a dog. You got a rooster. You got a mule. You got an ox. And you got Jack. And they walking down the street. They're walking and they end up in the middle of the wilderness. Of the woods, y'all. And they come upon this cabin. Nobody's in this cabin. But everybody walks into the cabin and they look around. And the old rooster speaks up and he says, "There's all this stuff in this cabin. There's all kinds of things. There's all kinds of victuals." That means food. "There's all kinds of things over here. There's things to eat. There's all kinds of nice food and everything. I think this belonged to some robbers." And the rooster apparently has the brains of this outfit because he says, "Now here's what we ought to do, y'all. Let's hide somewhere until them robbers show up and let's get them and then we can have this stuff." So, the cat, being the cat, decides he's going to hide in the fireplace because you know that fireplace is almost like a box and we know cats like boxes, right? The old dog, he hides behind the door. The old donkey, he hangs out on the porch. And well, the ox, he's just an ox. He just hangs out in the yard because he's too big to go in the house. Well, the time passes and everybody's sitting there waiting. And one of the old robbers shows up. Because you know what? They're right. Those were robbers. And then he comes into the house. And he's looking around. And he spots the fireplace. And he sees there's some embers in the fireplace. And so he goes over to the fireplace. And he's getting down close to the fireplace. And he's about to blow on those embers. Out jumps the cat. Rah! Oh no! The robber falls backwards. And the dog grabs onto his leg with his no teeth. Ah! Then the robber runs out the door. And there's the old donkey. And he ends up right between the donkey's back legs. Boom! The donkey kicks the robber. The robber ends up flying out into the yard and right betwixt the horns of the ox. The ox throws the robber out of the fence. The robber, after laying there for a minute, jumps up and runs back to where his friends are coming up to the house. And he says, "I can't go back there." He says, "I think we got an issue. When I walked in the door, I ran up to the fireplace because I thought there were some embers in there. And then the guy hit me with a knife. And then I fell backwards and another guy got me in the leg. And then I run out into the yard and I got thrown over by another guy. How am I not going back there?" And then they are listening and they hear, and there's that guy. He's saying, "Come on over here." Them robbers looked at their friend and took off a-running. Now, Jack and his animal friends hung out at that house for a while. Eventually, Jack got bored, and you know what he did? He went on back home. And I was down there a little bit a while ago, and Jack's doing just fine. Now, the moral of this story, y'all, things aren't always what they seem. And crime doesn't pay. So I hope you all have enjoyed this fun little story that I told you. I have a lot of fun telling these stories, and maybe some of you can think of some stories to tell to entertain your friends, because there's nothing quite like a live performance. So I hope you guys have had a great time. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.